Hi everyone and welcome back to Giant Quest. It's Dan here, bringing you another deck profile. This time we're looking at a new archetype that's been receiving a lot of hype lately and recently claimed a 13th place finish at NIAC with Brandon Salazar piloting the deck. And that deck is none other than Raging Bolt EX with its new partner in crime, Teal Ogerpon. Although we've had Raging Bolt EX since Temporal Forces expansion in March, NAIC was the first tournament that Twilight Masquerade was legal in following its release on the 24th of May. So this resulted in a big upgrade for fans of Raging Bolt in the form of Teal Ogerpon, a welcome addition that may have just made the deck a viable contender. So without further delay, let's take a look at why this deck is now standing tall above others and how we're running our list at Giant Quest. Starting off with the main pieces, we're running 3 copies of Raging Bolt EX. This is the deck's primary attacker and the card you're mainly building around, boasting an impressive 240 HP for a basic ancient Pokemon, which can sometimes feel unfair, especially as it's a dragon type, which means it has no weakness. Its 2 attacks also stand out from the crowd. So Burst Roll for a single colourless energy allows you to discard your hand and draw a 6. At first it seems underwhelming, but this can be a great setup if you have a dead hand, or if you find yourself stuck after the likes of an Iono or an Unfair Stamp. But the main reason we're playing this card is for the Bellowing Thunder attack. Costing 1 lightning and 1 fighting energy, the attack lets you discard any amount of basic energy in play attached to your Pokemon, doing 70 damage for each card discarded. Now if you're thinking that sounds familiar, you'd be right, as it draws comparisons with Chien-Pao's Hailblade attack. However, it hits for 10 more damage per energy, which helps fix a lot of the math, as 1 energy will take out all evolving basics, 3 energy will get all support Pokemon such as Lumineon V, Rotom V and Squawk, and 4 lets you get all basic V and most V stars, as well as stage 2 EXs, and then 5 will get you a KO on any Pokemon currently in the game. It can also discard any type of energy, making it more versatile, which brings us on to its new partner, which is the Teal Ogerpon, of which again we're playing 3 copies. This is a card that has made the difference to the deck. It's a basic Terra EX, meaning it can't be sniped on the bench by damage, has a HP of 210 and a forgiving retreat cost of just 1. Although it doesn't seem like it would be a good fit at first glance, its ability Teal Dance turns into a valued partner, allowing you to once per turn attach a grass energy from hand and then draw a card. This ability is great for increasing the amount of energy in play to discard with Bolt's Bellowing Thunder attack, and the draw power allows you to dig deeper through your deck, helping to ensure you always have the card you need in hand. Its attack Myriad Leaf Shower also does 30 damage plus 30 for each energy card on both active Pokemon, meaning once powered up you're hitting base 120, which can help getting quick return KOs on the likes of Iron Hands, which will grant an additional 120 damage for its own attachments, and Charizard EX thanks to its Terra-type weakness. We then play 1 copy of Squawkabilly EX, so this is proven to be a key card for the deck. If its Squawk and Seize ability is used correctly, not only can it refresh your entire hand before your turn ends, allowing you to set up, but if you're turn 1 going second, it can also discard an energy ready for Professor Sada to accelerate your Raging Bolts in play, meaning after your attachments for turn you can have a Bolt set up ready to attack with potentially 5 or more energy ready to discard in play, thanks to Teal Ogerpon. This gives you that valuable turn 1 KO against any Pokemon. Greninja comes in as our Radiant of choice for the deck. Although we can't utilise Moonlight Shuriken, Concealed Cards is so valuable for draw consistency, as well as providing another way of getting energy into the discard to accelerate with Sada. And then our final Pokemon is Fluttermane. So this basic ancient Pokemon can not only benefit from Sada's energy acceleration, helping to hold more energy on the field, its ability Midnight Fluttering shuts off all active Pokemon abilities except for Midnight Fluttering, making it a devastating counter to the likes of Lost Box, who rely on their own abilities to get their deck rolling. Fluttermane also hits for 90 damage and drops 2 damage counters to the bench in any way you like with Hex Hurl, which is a perfect number for taking down Mimikyu's Safeguard ability, which prevents it from being damaged by basic EX or Vs, which would otherwise for this deck be an auto loss. So moving on to our supporters, we've already touched on this briefly, but we start with 4 copies of Professor Sada's Vitality. So this card is the bread and butter of this deck in a similar way that Irida is for Chien-Pao. Sada allows you to choose 2 of your ancient Pokemon in play and attach a basic energy from your discard to each of them, and then draw 3 cards. This card is insanely good for this deck, as not only do you get 2 energy attachments, drawing 3 cards is invaluable for consistency and can more than often draw you into the final piece you need for your turn. We then play 1 copy of Boss's Orders. So this should be no surprise, it's a staple in the TCG for several years now, provides us with the KO we need to maximise our prize trade on turns when we're not using Sada. And then we close our supporters off with 1 copy of Judge. Opting for the Judge over Iono here, this is due to its use in either early or late game, so this won't limit our own hand size. We can safely Judge for a fresh 4 in the late game, where Iono will potentially give us less cards and potentially be advantageous to our opponents. So moving on to our item cards, we're starting with our Pokemon search with 4 copies of Nest Ball, as all our Pokemon are basics. We also have 3 copies of Ultra Ball, and that helps us to assist and once again help discard energy for accelerating with Sada. As this deck is very energy heavy, we're running 4 copies of the new energy search card that came out recently in Earthen Vessel. We're also playing 2 copies of energy retrieval and 2 copies of Super Rod to aid in our energy recovery, obviously either going back to hand or back to deck depending on what you need. Super Rods are also good for recovering our Pokemon. We then have 4 copies of Pokegear to help us dig for our supporters, as ideally we want to be accelerating energy and drawing cards with Sada each turn. And to support this, we also play a single copy of Palpad, allowing us to reuse up to 2 supporters and shuffling them back into deck. We're playing 2 copies of Switch to help us easily move in and out of the active spot. We know Raging Bolt's retreat cost is quite expensive at a cost of 3. And then 3 copies of Trekking Shoes, just to help us dig further and get pieces we need for our turns. Then closing out on items with 1 copy of Lost Vacuum, which is proving more useful for discarding stadiums, including our own stadiums, as well as tools in play. So far this has proved to be most beneficial when facing guarding. Once they've taken a KO with something like Drifloon, you're able to remove its charm for a KO without attacking, leaving you open for 2 more potential prizes, slowing your opponent down in the process. And lastly, a spec of choice, which is the Prime Catcher, which I'm sure we're all familiar with by now. We're then running 2 copies of Bravery Charm ourselves. This will boost our Bolt's HP up to 290, or take our lower HP Pokemon out of 1-hit KO territory. It's favoured over the Ancient Booster capsules, as it can be used with the Radiant Greninja or the Squawkabilly. 2 copies of Pokestop also allows us to see even more of our item cards each turn. And then we're using 1 copy of Collapsed Stadium to help limit our opponent's bench and board state, as well as being able to remove weakened or weak Pokemon off our own bench, such as a Squawkabilly again. And finally, for our energy, we're running 7 copies of the Grass Energy in order to make the most use out of that Teal dance ability on the Ogerpon. We're then running 3 copies of Basic Fighting and 3 copies of Basic Lightning for use with Raging Bolts. So there you have it, our Raging Bolt EX deck list, or as I like to call it, Teal Thunder. We hope you've enjoyed the list. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If there's anything we've missed, anything you change in the build, we want to hear it from you. And as always, if you haven't already, please drop the video a like and subscribe to the channel. It really is appreciated. And don't forget to use our affiliate link for Magic Madhouse if you're looking to pick up any of the cards you've seen in the video for yourself. Until next time, take care.